Good morning. It's Friday morning, so getting ready for the weekend. It's Valentine's Day this weekend. I hope you guys have very happy Valentine's Day. There's a topic on my heart this morning that is inspired to me by a lot of the people that I work with and also by the Netflix series I just finished watching called Anne with an E. And this is, in case you haven't seen it or heard about it, it is a spinoff of Anne of Green Gables, the novel series. And there's some points that are illustrated in the series that really integrate into the work that we've been talking about. If you've watched some of my videos, I talk about internal family systems, working with various parts, and some of the parts are exile parts. So we have exiles, managers, firefighters. Exiles are the ones that the rest of the system is like, we don't want you to throw the balance of us off, so you get exiled. Get down there. Get back on the shelf, down into the solidified with ice. We don't want to deal with you. And exiles often are children, because when we're talking about childhood trauma, if a child didn't have a loving, kind, aware adult to keep them safe or protect them or even validate what the child's experience was, the child feels very on their own. They feel alone in the world if the grown-ups that were supposed to be providing them safety and security did not do that for whatever reason. There's a multitude of reasons: mental illness, substance abuse, domestic violence, many different scenarios. So what I wanted to start with is, often in working with people, my clients, you can tell that a little part, meaning a little kid part, gets activated either in session or in their life. And some indications of that are, you can tell the person is starting to dissociate. Little children often, like, they disappear, they go away, I call it, oh, you're starting to go bye-bye. Now let's do some of our skills. Let's turn our head gently from side to side, activating that vagus nerve, helping you come back, orienting questions, grounding questions. I spy with my little eyes something green. Things like that to help the person, if you're starting to dissociate into a little kid part, helping you to come back. So in session, I can help people do that. When you're out in your life, sometimes you don't even realize that there's a little kid part getting activated, either afraid, alone, shame for no reason, like out of nowhere. There's this flood of shame, sadness, fear. Those are all indicators that, for whatever reason, that little exile part is starting to activate. And time again, my clients will say, I just wish I could get rid of that kid. Sometimes they even want to be violent. Like it reminds me, Kevin on Shark Tank. I just want to take this kid out behind the barn and shoot it. And I get sad. I get very sad when I hear people treat their little children parts like that. And the other, so you have exile, and then right along with it often is a manager part that's trying to control things, make things normal. We got to function here. Let's be apparently normal. Lots of times the manager part, or even firefighter part, that will come alongside the exile is a bully or a critic. And this is all internal. So there might be this, I really could use some nice older person to comfort me. And the bully just comes swooping in and says things like, you're so stupid. What is your problem? That's the past. Knock it off. Like, get in the back. You know, just what? There's something wrong with you. You're crazy. Like, terrible, critical messages. So the person ends up just like feeling alone. All those things the exile is feeling, that's what is going on. And at the same time, being re-traumatized, basically, by another internal part. Mind you, the bully critic part is trying to help, like, knock it off, we're grown-ups, okay? Cut it out. They're trying to help, but they're re-traumatizing. So, back to the show, Anne, with an E. There is a scene, I think there's 3 seasons, it might be in the 2nd season, where Anne is an orphan, and she wants to find out more about her birth parents. So she goes to the orphanage, and a friend is sitting there with her, and they're sitting in like a waiting area on these wooden benches. And also it was very abusive in that orphanage. So there was no nurturing, no compassion, none of that going on. Very abusive. So she and her friend are waiting to get in to see the woman that runs the place. And they're listening to this scene. So there's a little boy and a little girl across from them, young, like maybe 7 and 5. And you can hear the father in the office, and the door's wide open, and he's in there with the manager of the orphanage, dropping the children off, and saying things like, you know, I'm done with them, just very gruff. And the manager asks him, well, what do you want me to tell them when they start asking questions? Do you want me to tell them why you are leaving them here because their mother died? Or do you want me to just say you're dead? And he said, tell them I'm dead. And he comes out of the office and just starts to go right past his children. The little boy is crying. He jumps up and he's like hanging on to the dad, like, don't leave, don't leave. And the little girl is just frozen. And that is such a depiction of, you hear me talking about the vagus nerve, not ventral vagal connected. The little boy was activated in fight flight, like, no, no, no. And the little girl was just high tone dorsal vagal, frozen. Couldn't move. Too much. Just overwhelmed and like, I'll just disappear here. So I like to use that example because it illustrates these are little kids. This was not their fault. This had nothing to do with them, that their parents, the mom died and the dad left them, but there was no compassion, no understanding, just, abandoned. So when they get older, when they grow up and they have this yucky residual feeling of I'm worthless, people leave, or, that might be the little girl. The little boy's negative cognition may be, people are bad, and his presentation may be more aggressive and, maybe a little more like that kind of energy, and the little girl might be constantly shifting back into this I'm worthless mode. Okay, so translating, okay, what do we do with all this? Well, a kinder, gentler approach with yourself when you feel a wave of that, a wave of sadness or empty. And notice, does that critic part come flying right in to start to beat you up? Because that's a very frequent component, I noticed, dynamic, I should say, with the parts. I always say things like, be kind to that little kid. Realize that's a little child part. Be kind, be gentle. And if you have a steady diet of your life of nobody's kind and gentle, that's not what we do. Like, it sounds really weird to think that way. And some people have a bad reaction to that, like, yuck, it almost makes them feel sick to think of being kind. So maybe that's too far for you. Maybe to be curious. Maybe that's a little less nauseating if you have that kind of reaction. To be curious about the different parts that may get activated. And there's a lot of work that can be done with those parts to help them discharge those stored memories and negative beliefs about themselves, and to recognize it was not because I was a bad child, it was because of what was going on around me, and helping to integrate that. So I hope this helps. And if you get a chance to watch that series, it's very powerful. It also illustrates the difficulty lots of times people have in expressing their emotions, and how important it is to be able to communicate the emotions so we can connect with others, the ventral vagal, as opposed to having this thought that I'm not connected. Have a great day.